Hi everyone, I am teacher Allie and I work with A2 to B1 English learners who understand the language well but might hesitate when it comes time to speak. So I turn English learners into confident real-world communicators. So if this sounds familiar to you, and this sounds like your child or your students, this video is for you. So I am going to talk about should my child or my student record themselves speaking in English? So, this is something I've actually encouraged with many of my students over the years. So, almost every time there's hesitation at first, whether, they're like, what? Teacher Allie, why are we doing this? Right? So, recording themselves speaking, it's not for performance, it's not for social media, but it is for growth and reflection, right? So, when done correctly, it can be super powerful and it can completely change a student's confidence. So, again, as I mentioned, most students don't love the idea at first. They might say something, I've heard some things like, Allie, I don't like my voice, or I'll make mistakes and it sounds awkward. So, this is a really important moment in my teaching to help them reframe those thoughts because discomfort tells us exactly where this growth needs to happen. So, when speaking is recorded, it feels super permanent, right? Whereas in a conversation, words disappear. But when it's recorded, students hear themselves, right? And that increases vulnerability. And it can also increase awareness because they start to notice things. So, some things that they notice are their pacing, how fast or how slow they are talking, right? Their clarity, their sentence length. And that awareness builds control over time. And remember, confidence doesn't come from compliments or praising you're good. It comes from noticing progress. So when students are recording themselves once a week, they hear their improvement. Maybe their sentences are longer, their pauses are calmer, maybe they're using better structure or better pacing. And that recognition builds super incredible confidence levels. So it's also a really great reflection task to go back and listen to some recordings from last year or the year before to see how your pacing's improved, your vocabulary, your sentence structure, your grammar, everything, your pronunciation, right? It's awesome to look at that growth and go, oh my goodness, look at how far I've come in a couple months or a year. So recording creates like a safe rehearsal space, right? So they can try new vocab, they can restart a sentence. If you make a mistake, who cares? I don't care. That's great. It's awesome because you're practicing, you're learning. So I love mistakes. I want you guys to practice as much as possible. So they can restart, if they make a mistake. They can experiment, which is perfect, right? There's no audience, there's no pressure, just you and the microphone. So for shy or perfectionist learners, this private practice actually decreases fear. And the lowered fear levels increases their willingness to speak and their output, right? And this works when it's really comfortable, safe space. So what I've seen in my students over the years is they are excellent readers, right? They understand everything. But all of a sudden, I ask them a question about the text, and they give me like 1 word answers, 2 word answers, super short answers. And when I increased, doing this short weekly recordings, something shifted. Their answers gradually became longer, more detailed, more relaxed, and the willingness to hear themselves speaking in English imperfectly unlock growth, right? Again, in my lessons, I'm always encouraging my students to make mistakes because that's where the true learning happens, especially when it comes to language learning. So you don't need anything complicated, right? So just once or twice a week, you can ask your child to speak for about a minute. And what you could ask them what they learned today, an opinion about their favorite movie, or you could ask them to teach you something that they're interested in. So this could be about 60 to 90 seconds, just about a simple topic that's interesting to them, right? And most importantly, make sure you let them finish without interrupting or correcting them, right? Because it's not about being perfect here, it's about giving effort in practicing. Awesome. So after they finish, start with something specific and positive. I loved how you explained X, Y, and Z, or you gave a clear reason. Then, if needed, you can adjust one small thing. So confidence grows where students feel safe, right? And some students choose to share their recordings with family or maybe in small supportive spaces, only if they feel comfortable, right? So the goal is growth, not performance. So the purpose of this activity is to build comfort with expression, right? And giving them a safe space to make these mistakes and reflect on it later, right? It's an awesome reflection practice of how far your child or student has grown. So a lot of times parents ask me, hey, Teacher Allie, does this help in exam? Absolutely it does, especially with speaking exams. So when we talk about recording, this also builds another skill that really is critical for oral exams. So speaking while being observed. So when students are used to hearing themselves speak, exam settings feel way less overwhelming, right? They've practiced that exposure, and when it comes time for, a pet exam, a key exam, so many exams, right? Um, it's okay because they have that exposure of having someone listening to them, right? I know it's just a recording, but they're going back and listening. So when the examiner is there, it doesn't feel quite as intimidating as if they didn't have this practice. Awesome. Again, confidence. Confidence is key when you are learning a language. So we're working on building those confidence levels for our students 8 through 12 or our A2 to B1 learners. So confidence isn't something that students suddenly wake up with, right? It grows through exposure and practice. So the more that they're hearing themselves speaking and they realize they're improving, the less intimidating it becomes. So this is where I start to see growth in their answers. Um, and their answers become much longer and more detailed, more descriptive, and they start to take risks as well, which is phenomenal. Awesome. So, again, this is just a really small task you can do weekly, again, consistently. And these small recordings, small risks, and consistent support. So, if you're looking for structured guidance to help your child move from hesitation to confident expression, that's exactly what I support in my lessons. And it's a transformation I often notice, especially with my E2 to B1 learners. So I'd love to know, would your child feel comfortable trying this, or would they need a little bit of encouragement first?